This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Back on the Northland Sports page, radio's not a visual medium, so you can't see Dave Cook the way I can. I'm Brian Prudhomme. He would win a lip sync battle for that song, and he probably wants me to keep it going. I do like this part. Okay, that'll sound horrible on the podcast because there'll be nothing, but it's a long way to the top from AC/DC. Go ahead, Dave.
It is. I found this out here a couple of years ago, and it makes sense, but it's surprising because of money, right? But AC/DC won't play that song live anymore. They call it the Bon Scott song, and they can't do it justice without him, so they quit doing it.
Fair enough. We hope we can do our sponsors justice. Dave Cook's going to give it a shot. He's a better man than I.
All right, let's start with the Blackwoods Group. Their location's on London Road, Blackwater, right downtown, Tavern on the Hill. The location's in Two Harbors and in Proctor. It is Mother's Day, ... hint, hint, hint. Mount Royal Bottle Shop, Stewart's Bike, Sports, and Trophies, Comfort Systems of Duluth, Kohler Toyota and Kohler Hyundai, Advantage Emblem and Screen Printing, Krause Heating and Cooling, your Carrier HVAC authorized dealer, your Carrier in northeastern Minnesota, Arola Architecture Studio, Hoops Brewing, and Mike Regan at Christensen Group Insurance.
So we are very grateful for all of our sponsors, and before Dave sets off widespread panic, it is Mother's Day tomorrow. If you need to do the shopping today, you're okay.
I'm doing Mother's Day today, I'm sorry.
You and my wife both?
Yes.
Not together, though.
No,
I don't think, or you've got a lot of explaining to do.
That would be weird. All of a sudden, now, Brian, we got something to tell you.
Yeah.
So
you're my brother-in-law? Actually, that wouldn't be horrible. I've got 3 great ones, but that wouldn't be horrible.
Gosh, think about that. Well, I can get you to the house then once in a while.
Right.
So that would be a good thing. No, the Mother's Day is something really important. You need to tip your hat and look at our sponsors between Mount Royal, Stewart's. I mean, if she's in the sports,
Hoops.
Absolutely. Hoops Brewing. We're not even talking about, them yet. You need a car. Like, go to Kohler and Hyundai. Spend some time with mom looking at cars today. I mean, there's so many things our sponsors do that you can take advantage of.
That is 100% correct. We started the day, segment 1, hour 1 was about fan favorites. Actually, part of that, I know we stumbled upon it last week, but part of what solidified it was Mother's Day weekend, because usually your biggest fan is probably mom.
Usually, yeah. I think that as a rule of thumb, that's fair.
I think my mom is my biggest fan, but also my most honest, because we talk about unconditional love and, she's going to tell you did great because she's your mom. That doesn't apply in my family. If I want honest critique of how I'm really doing at anything, I go to my mom.
Yeah, the big difference is your mom listens to this, so you need to say nice things, because I'll say nice things about your mom. But
because she listens to this.
Yes,
go ahead.
My mom doesn't listen. Like, my mom was, a straight edge when she was, working. Like, she was the toughest woman anybody knew. And so hardcore. And now it's just, she is your greatest fan. I was her greatest fan. It's an interesting thing.
I'm still going back to you and my wife doing Mother's Day together. And what if you are my brother-in-law? It would explain so much, all the petty little arguments we get in, the amount of times I interrupt you. It's all family. It all makes sense.
Yes, and the amount of time that I'm working around to get to a name, and you just cut through the red tape and get there.
Yes, maybe we are part of the same family tree. This show has often been like family. Our family members in this hour, Rhett McDonald will join us. He is the Duluth East boys basketball coach, of course. We'll talk a little bit about that, but he's going to give us a different perspective on a big event last night, and we'll just leave it at that. And a big event for the weekend in Vikings country is rookie minicamp. We're going to take a trip down memory lane. I'm sure Vencie Glenn will enjoy telling us about when he was a rookie and what was that minicamp like versus present day.
Well, and his story revolving Bo Jackson and Earl Campbell is one of the best football stories I've ever heard. And I know it's only been a couple weeks, but we may ask him to bring some of that back.
Completely agree with that. But before we do that, we just got done talking a little bit about the Twins as the final leg of buy or sell. And by the end of the weekend, the Twins will have hit 40 games on the season. And that's close enough. I know out of 162, that's not quite the 1/4 mark of the season, but close enough. And we usually do quarterly awards for the Minnesota Twins as the season progresses. So that means we are going to pick, at this moment, the MVP, the Cy Young, the Anthony Young. And for those of you that don't know that former pitcher, may he rest in peace, Google it. His ERA wasn't bad. His record was terrible. Whether he deserved it or not, he was the butt of a lot of jokes during his career. And then we will do biggest surprise. Usually that's a positive, doesn't have to be, but it's usually a surprise because the last category is biggest disappointment. So if you need a negative, you've got a safe place for that too.
Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with MVP? Because I'm going to surprise you.
I think we can. Go ahead.
All right, MVP, I'm going to pick a position I never, ever pick. The MVP of this team is relief pitcher Griffin Jax. Jax has been the guy who has, through all the injuries, through all the turmoil, has nailed down the 7th if you needed to, the 8th if you needed to. He is closing if you need him to, and they've been on a 16-game run, and the first part of that was kind of on him. So my MVP, Mr. Jax.
That's really interesting because I know that I watched the Twins.
I'm not a relief pitcher guy, Brian. That was hard.
You're not. This is a lot of growth for you. I couldn't disagree with it more, but it's a lot of growth for you. But I think it's because I think you know that I watch the Twins a lot more religiously than you do. Not that you don't, have an awareness of what's going on with them, but sometimes I, to an unhealthy level, live pitch by pitch. And Griffin Jax, the numbers are good. He's done everything you mentioned, taken on whatever inning they've put him in, appeared in a ton of games. But Griffin Jax, for me, is absolutely an anxiety attack. So I just cannot give him the MVP. Very useful, very dependable in the smallest sense of the word.
Together.
And he did hold it together until Duran has gotten here. Hopefully Topa will get here eventually.
I don't think he's going to be the MVP at the end of the year. I think through the first 40, tough to argue.
I'm going to give you an MVP that I'm going to use a statement that I used to use a lot when I was bashing a first ballot Hall of Famer for the Twins. Who knew the catchers could have power? I'm giving Ryan Jeffers the MVP.
That's fair.
I remember, I think it was one of the first games of the year, if not the first one. Ryan Jeffers was in the 2 spot, and we went, why?
Yeah, Mitch Garver's not here anymore. What are you doing?
Absolutely correct. And part of the reason I need to pick him for MVP, I touched on this last week because I think we did a buy or sell whether or not he's the MVP. Preseason, or our preview, if you will, we did these awards as well. I picked Ryan Jeffers as the biggest disappointment. Not to say he was going to have a terrible season, but I just thought the expectations that they're going to put on this guy, because he was good last year, might leave him with nowhere to go but down. I've never been so happy to be wrong. Ryan Jeffers is the go-to guy on this team offensively. And just like you're saying, Griffin Jax got him through until some studs came back. Ryan Jeffers was leaned on when Carlos Correa wasn't there. Royce Lewis still isn't there.
And Buxton went down.
Right. Well, and water's wet.
And yet you said stars.
Yeah.
He's one of them.
Yes. That might be a fan favorite that I don't understand either, but I'm not going back to hour 1, segment 1. All right. So those are our MVPs. Who's your Cy Young?
See, I'm tossed with this one because Pablo is good, right? I mean, he's got that level of expectation. He has to be special to get this award. I didn't give Chris Paddock the time of day. And over the last couple of starts, he's been nails. And this last start was like he did in the bullpen last year. He just owned Seattle. And so I'm going to tentatively, like we've said, bargain bin shopping, going to go with Paddock.
All right. I like that. I'm not going to go with it because he's going to come up with a different one for me. So you stole my thunder a little bit. I got to go Joe Ryan. And it's probably Pablo being a victim of expectations, as you said. He's been plenty good, but when he's not that good every time out, we go, what in the world's wrong with him?
Yep.
And probably nothing. Now, my favorite starter is Bailey Ober. Bailey Ober had a catastrophic start in Kansas City, and social media was ready to be done with this guy immediately. He's done a great job to get his ERA from 54 to about 4.4, but he's not Cy Young material on this team at all. Joe Ryan, if he figures out how to keep the ball in the ballpark, because that's still a bugaboo, will be incredible. Strikeout numbers are great. His presence on the mound, I wouldn't call it intimidating, but it might be weird enough to eventually get there. I love what I see in Joe Ryan, but I've been down this road before. I loved what I saw from Joe Ryan on May 11th last year. And then there was a time down the stretch where you weren't sure you could put him in the rotation. So I'll give it to him now, but let's see what happens at the 80-game mark.
I think that Joe Ryan is special in that he throws a pitch that's his slot is so unique, but the ball stays up and he doesn't throw 100. I think home runs are always going to be a problem. The blessing he has is he doesn't let a lot of other guys on. So his home runs are solo shots a lot of times. And so I agree with you. I think he has as much potential as anybody. I agree.
All right, so who's the Anthony Young? Who's the guy on the mound that you go, well, If it's not already over, it sure is now.
Yeah, they sent him down already. That's Louis. Varland, it's been real difficult. We said before the season that, putting him out there as a starter right now is a fool's errand because you've really set him up. But last year as a starter, he was bad. They brought him back in, and he was nails as a bullpen guy. And so everybody expected him to be that guy as a starter. And there was no reason to think that. And, some of those losses at the first part of the year, you can put them on his shoulder. And he hasn't been here for a month, and he's still my Anthony Young.
I like what you said. You could put that on his shoulder. You didn't pluralize it. You went with the throwing shoulder only. I like that. So that's probably the correct answer. I didn't go with him because he's not actively with the team. I had trouble choosing between two. I'm probably going to go with Caleb Thielbar because he gets called upon in more situations that are high leverage.
They love him.
And doesn't do great. Right. But the other one for me was going to be Jay Jackson. But the reason I didn't pick Jay Jackson is because usually when he's in, it's already over.
And it sounds like a name made up on a baseball computer
It sounds
game.
like the Jackson 5 were supposed to be the Jackson 6, and he was the one left out.
Yeah.
But so I went with Thielbar, but Thielbar's had some good moments. He's got a couple of saves. He got one of them by getting Mike Trout with the bases loaded. But, the baseball rule is you can't create a safe situation for yourself. I think if you could, Caleb Thielbar might be the king of that. But I think Caleb Thielbar is a little Tyler Duffy for me, where I know your go-to pitch is the curveball, and when it's good, it's really good.
Really good.
Tyler Duffy, by the way, I think got the win for the Royals last night, if anybody wonders. But when a curveball's hanging there, as a fan who watches pitch by pitch, you wince every time it sits in the zone.
Yeah, and his does. He's got that bulldog battler mentality that was like the premium skill back in the 70s and 80s. He's going to give up some runs, but he's also the toughest guy on the mound when you need him to be. And so when he's not right, it's problematic because the bulldog mentality, if you're throwing the ball at 85 over the heart of the plate, doesn't matter.
Right. And I think the reason that Caleb Thielbar is ending up getting this award from me, if you will, is because Steven Okert hasn't been good enough and Cody Funderburk hasn't been good enough. Well, I think they're looking for other lefties to go to in these situations, and they don't have them.
I gotcha. That was going to be my point. So we're drawing names up again that would have been, baseball, MLB 2008, names of other people. I thought
Steven Okert was Cardi B. Doesn't she always say, Okert? Isn't that what that is?
So, it's tough when your only lefty is that guy and you're grasping at straws for everybody else. So, yeah.
I agree. So, biggest surprise, I think I know who you're going to take, so I won't, but the floor is yours.
Boy, biggest surprise. There's so many options here, right? There have been a lot of people who have gone ahead and surprised or meet expectation or beat expectations. And I think right now it needs to be the outfielder from Oregon State, the kid who was cut last year and brought back.
Trevor Larnach.
I was listening to a podcast and did some reading. And how did he become successful? 2 reasons. 1, he doesn't strike out as much. 2, he hits the ball harder. And if that's what it took, and he was the guy that got sent down and reset himself and came back and is now successful, I wouldn't have given you a nickel for him.
All right, that's a great take, but I would have failed miserably. And when I thought I knew who you were going to go with, whether you are my brother-in-law or not, or whether we're playing the newlywed game, I would have got that one wrong. Because I thought for sure you were going to go with the gentleman who starts today, Simeon Woods Richardson. Because you
had a surprise, I forgot about it.
Right. You had the bus labeled just ready for this guy, and it was going to be, maybe we don't totally miss Barrios, but we totally missed on that trade. Well, now Austin Martin isn't great, but he's getting his opportunities, and we'll see what becomes of it. I hope Simeon Woods Richardson is the answer as that 5th starter. So far with an ERA under 2, the sample size is minuscule, but you love what you see. That was who I thought you were going to go with. It's not who I'm going with, but that's who I thought you were going to say. I'm taking your Cy Young here because Chris Paddock, Lavelle E. Neal III, who was on with us just last week, who I talk to regularly now, and I love it because talk about speaking with a baseball encyclopedia. No, that's not the book he came out with. It's not an encyclopedia, but, baseball, that's my source. I was high on Paddock, and I said as much to him going into the season. He kind of patted me on the head in the text version. It said, Brian, I love your enthusiasm, but nobody comes back from multiple Tommy Johns and does anything like this. And again, it's May 11th. We might look at August 11th and say, remember when Chris Paddock was good? But right now, the look on the mound, it's like a miniature Rod Beck with the sheriff look and, just mowing guys down. And he goes from being on a pitch count early in the season to convincing Rocco to leave him in for another inning when he's in the high 90s with a pitch count. I hope this is the Chris Paddock you thought you were getting when you got rid of Taylor Rogers.
Yeah, he's throwing a ball through a wall right now. I mean, that's the crazy thing. He is as tough a starter as there is in the American League, and I at no point, even when the trade was made, at no point did I think we were getting that.
All right, so the biggest disappointment is whom or what, and you can't say starting 7 and 13 because that is way in the rearview mirror now.
Nah, it's the guy they traded for in spring training, the Margot. He cut him. Like, he's not playable. Like I said to you the other day, he was 1 for 4 with 5 RBIs, and I'm like, how in the world does a guy do that? But he's just not. You can play Austin Martin, right, and have better on-base percentage and just as good outfield play, and he's your guy, and you're going to pay him a quarter.
All right, so I know we need to get on schedule, and I'm really glad you said what you said because I can get us right back on schedule by just going, yep. Because most people know, if you've ever texted with me during a Twins game, my disdain for Manny Margot runs pretty high. If you want the answer to your question, the 1 for 4 with 5 RBIs, bases clearing double in inning 1, RBI ground out in like inning 7. That helped the cause, but yeah. If you can't hit, everybody says don't take bad at bats into the outfield. Margot's done that too.
Well, and I sent you that thing where the Twins depth chart, and they were saying, so start backup center fielder is Margot, third is Austin Martin, and the next guy is some AAA guy nobody's ever heard of. Legitimately might call him up if they have to play Margot and he like the time.
I've said Margot makes you miss Byron Buxton, and Byron Buxton hasn't done much, but the best ability sometimes is Avila. I sure hope that the Twins make Margot available to other teams soon. Right. If it was a Bermanism, it might be Manny Margot away. We'll see. Hopefully the Twins' winning ways don't go anywhere soon. Again, they're in Toronto throughout the rest of the weekend. A little after 2 o'clock, they will take on the Blue Jays today. When we come back, Rhett McDonald, basketball coach on the boys' side at Duluth East. That's his title, but not a lot of what we're going to talk to him about. We'll sprinkle it in, but there's more to the story, as they say. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Back on the Northland Sports page, Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook, a little soul to soul, back to life, back to reality. Dave, I don't know if you'd heard that song before this morning, but I said, just listen to the way it starts. Is that a good Timberwolves message today, no matter how you feel about it? Some people say, well, that's Minnesota sports. So that's back to reality. But I think it's more back to the reality of you're playing the defending champions and you're going to have to come with a little better energy tomorrow night.
Oh, 100%. I have to believe Rhett buys into that 1,000% as well. The energy level. We were talking about it earlier. It seemed like the crowd was ready to erupt. They never gave them a reason to erupt the whole night.
Yeah, didn't really get that opportunity, but Rhett McDonald is with us. He'll join in just a moment. Boys basketball coach at Duluth East. We will talk about some camps that they have coming up this summer, but Rhett last night was able to take in game number 3, so it'll be good to get a fan's perspective on what should have been a wild night, but, you know, the mute button, Denver found it on the Target Center and placed it on there real quick, but hopefully you don't mute us. In fact, we found out during the break we got some new listeners. I think you need to give them a shout out.
I do. I have to say welcome to the show to Dana's cousin's kid, Destiny. She's at our house right now. She just downloaded the app, Brian. We have a new long-term listener, so thank you for listening.
Well, that makes me wonder if you've got family, you know, listening with bated breath, if I should just back away from the microphone and let you finish this.
That's 3. We have now 3 confirmed listeners.
Wow, there's got to be a lot in the Rhett McDonald fan club because this is probably Rhett's, 12th, 13th, 14th appearance on the show?
Well, and it's because we believe strongly in his basketball. We believe strongly in his coaching style. But more importantly, we believe strongly in his energy level. So we're kind of hoping here.
Well, and you know me, I just never get the chance to catch up with Rhett McDonald. So right, I need the radio show to do it.
You haven't talked to in a while.
Right, so I'm just chomping at the bit. So let's do it. Rhett, good morning, sir.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Now, it's Mother's Day weekend, but you got a little bit of almost like a Father's Day type experience yesterday. The mother of your children, I hope she's got a big day tomorrow in your family, because talk about the surprise and opportunity she gave you.
Yeah, earlier this week, we were surprised with tickets to the game. So, wasn't expecting it. She actually told me they were sold out when she was searching for them a week prior, and all of a sudden, she told us that she got them for my second eldest, Decker, and I, and we made a day down there. We got down there about 5. The streets were already buzzing. Had a bite to eat. Went to the game, and I've never seen anything like that personally. Just to see the energy and the excitement and all of these people coming from everywhere. We got to the building immediately when it opened, and it was a different experience. Now, I haven't been to a Timberwolves game since 2019, and the energy and the feeling in that building has changed 180 degrees. Obviously, we wanted to win last night. It didn't happen. Everyone in the building expected us to win. We just did not come out and play very well last night.
That's very true. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of your son for a moment, because I remember going to games like that as a kid, and the anticipation was awesome. Like you said, getting to the building, and half the time it was the pregame fanfare that really got you going. But I also remember what it was like to be that age and watch your favorite team get obliterated. And my emotions weren't always great. I just want to know how Decker handled the game itself, because that's a far cry from probably what he was feeling an hour or two before.
No, for sure. When we got down there, we got down probably a couple feet from the court. We got pictures in the background with Jokic and most of the Timberwolves crew, so he loved that. He wanted autographs. We weren't able to get that close. We were up in the nosebleeds, and obviously he was kind of getting bored towards halftime and in the beginning of the fourth quarter. He's a pretty good math kid for a kindergartner. And as soon as the score reached 27, he turns to me and goes, "Well, that's 27. Let's go." And so that, for me, I was like, "Yeah, you're probably right." He had a blast. I had more fun kind of watching him interact with the crowd around him and yelling and screaming. It was. You're right. It was there were memories to last a lifetime.
I saw a picture of where your actual seats were, and it actually served as a good picture of the entire arena. But I was going to text you last night. Now, Rhett, if you throw a heating pack from where you are, that could actually hurt somebody by the time it gets there.
For sure. And people were thinking about throwing their beers. It was really lively up there. I had to talk to Decker on the way home, the amount of F-bombs that he probably heard. But it was he had fun. It was a great time.
Excellent. So let's go from putting the dad hat on to putting the basketball coach hat on. I'm not going to pretend that coaching high school ball and coaching in the NBA are even in the same ilk, but from what you saw as a basketball team, I saw so many opinions on Twitter last night. I know it's called X, whatever you want to call it. I saw opinions galore. But I just stick to the fact that the defending champions played like it, and now it's time to adjust. Every coach has been in a situation where, holy cow, I got to make adjustments, and I got to make them now. Did you see glaring issues with the Timberwolves, or was this more Denver flexed on them? Because I choose option B there.
I would 100% agree with Denver playing like world champions last night. Really impressed with them. You could tell that they played with great pace. I don't know if anyone saw that and compared the other games, but they were getting up the floor in a heartbeat. And then they just moved it, man. Like I was looking and first of all, we got to do a better job with Jamal Murray, because we let him let those first couple of shots go in. And then he got very comfortable early in that game and gave us struggles the whole night. Jokic, on the other hand, is just a really, really good player, obviously. But he's so unselfish. He just makes the right play. That's why he's the MVP. He doesn't go out there and try to just show everyone how great he is. He just literally makes the right play every single time, and it leads to success. The one thing that I will say is that those 2 early foul calls on Jaden McDaniels, in my opinion, kind of took this life and energy and grit out of our defense. And when he had to sit down and they called those ticky-tack fouls, in my opinion, really, really early in the game, and then I don't think that consistency laid true the rest of the game. I thought it just gave a negative impact with the Wolves' D. I just didn't think we had the energy. I didn't think we came out with that same sort of tenacity, and it hurt us. But I don't think it was Denver's defense last night that caused us problems. We just didn't make shots. I mean, and they did. Time and time again, we just didn't make shots. And I think what happened then, if you don't mind me keep going, there was a possession I was watching the game last night where Anthony Edwards had the ball at the top of the key, and all the 4 other defenders had a foot in the paint. Now, if you can't make shots and they're just not letting Anthony Edwards get to the rim, it's going to be a long night. So we need some of our role players to hit shots. We need Jaden to stay in the game, so we can try to stretch them a little bit and Anthony can get loose. But it's one of those games where we didn't make shots, and they came out ready to roll.
I agree with that. And Dave, I know we gave Rhett till about 11:30 so he could get some sleep after getting home last night, but clearly he should have joined us to open the show because some of that sounded familiar.
Yes, no.
I'm glad to know that a good coach validated some of our opinions.
Well, speaking of good coach, I have, one of those things where when you and I watch, at some point in a game like that, we say, yeah, okay, this one's over. I wonder from a coach's point of view, and like you said, you watched the whole game. At what point did your coach brain say, yeah, we're in trouble here?
I would say midway through the third quarter. The NBA, you guys already alluded to it, but the NBA is so much different than high school. It's a matter of 3 shots made, and it can change the trajectory of the game. Credit to Denver, though. I think I heard last night that our biggest run was 7 points last night, 7. And they just controlled our runs. We never got going, and when you control your runs on the road, the crowd doesn't get into it as well. So they kept the crowd at bay. But it was midway through the third quarter when we just were not making shots, and we just were not getting stops. There was a possession where a series of possessions where they hit 2 threes and they hit a mid-range jumper. And then for me, when that lead got up to about 25, and I'm thinking, all right, there's about 4 minutes left in the third quarter. We have to at least end this quarter on a run to give ourselves a chance. We didn't. So when we got to the fourth quarter, I kind of hoped that maybe we could get something rolling, but they just kept hitting shots, and we just couldn't get it going. So, yeah.
Certainly not the best night for the Wolves last night. They get another shot tomorrow. That's maybe the good news. There's not the Monday to Friday layoff this time. It's every other day type of thing, at least for now, and we'll see if the Wolves can take a 3-1 lead. But the good news, Rhett, I think for all of us here on this show right now is basketball is becoming the A topic. All 3 of us love the sport and sometimes kind of shrug our shoulders at how it can get dismissed in this state. You've got some big summer camps coming up. Are you able to seize kind of the energy behind the sport and the Timberwolves' success, and you're going to see more kids that are interested in joining those camps?
Well, I think you saw like nationwide, however many years ago, when the Warriors played this new style of basketball. I feel like that changed the trajectory of just the landscape of basketball in general, where like everyone started to shoot more and get in the gym and want to work on their game from the perimeter. Now, you know me, I would love this energy of the Wolves to change on the other end of the spectrum, and maybe we play a little bit. It encourages kids to play defense as hard as they do on a night-to-night basis. So, I think anytime you have a local team like the Wolves have success, you and I can both remember, all of us can remember even when the Bulls had their run in the 90s, like that impacted everything. For us as a young kid. So I think the Wolves have the same chance of doing that. They're relatively young. I hope they end the year on a great run. But yeah, for sure. I think that it can definitely impact kids and wanting to come to camp and play basketball.
So Rhett, camps. There are so many camps in so many different sports, and of course yours is an excellent one as well. I'm wondering, in your point of view, what makes an excellent camp, maybe what makes it a great experience for the kids, but as an overall question, the big question is, what makes a great camp?
I think when it comes to basketball in general, I'll focus on like grades or age 10 to 12 in particular, and maybe up into like 14-year-olds or 8th graders. I think the most important thing from a coach's perspective is that when kids come into the gym, they're repping things that they do a lot during a game, right? So when you think about that, that's like jump stops, that's footwork, that's passing, that it's cutting, right? And I think where we're losing our focus here in general is that the more and more I watch on Twitter or TikTok and all these guys working out kids, is that they're working on these great footwork, sweet step backs, but you have to ask yourself, how many times in a game do you actually use that at that level? Now, I think that it's great for kids to have that stuff in their bag, that they can use it, but what I think is way more important, especially when you're developing a basketball program, you have to get kids repping the things that they do time and time again in a game, and they have to do those things well, and that's what we do at camp. Now, for kids, and this is kind of the tough part, is that somehow you have to make it fun, where they want to keep coming back and it's enjoyable for them. So I think it's somehow finding ways to work on those things in a competitive manner, and always adding any more fun games that they can play on the side too.
It's interesting, Brian, because I've gotten a call from a couple of parents over the last, month and a half about which camp they should send their kids to. What great advice that Rhett just gave us. If you're listening, that's the answer.
Absolutely, and I want Rhett to expand on that. This question maybe isn't the fun part, but it's the meat and potatoes. It's the important part. You've got multiple camps coming up. Talk about the age groups, talk about the dates, talk about the differences. Kind of give me journalism 101, the who, what, when, where, why of the East Boys basketball camps coming up.
Yeah, we kind of changed how we go about our summer. I was very fortunate to coach my son Gannon's fourth grade team this winter season, and it just kind of, and I've watched kids like that before, but being completely immersed with the fourth grade group when you see them in practice and in games, I started writing down a lot of notes in terms of what we can do better to identify some of the issues and try to improve them. So this summer we have a 3-week development camp that starts on June 10th. So if there are kids going into, I should say boys in particular, boys going into grades 3 through 8, it does not matter where you're from. It doesn't matter where you intend to go to high school. We have camps that will be housed at Ordine East. But the development camp specifically focuses on a lot of the things that I mentioned before. So when it comes to player development, personally, I think player development and team development go hand in hand. So we'll work a lot on player development, but we'll always kind of mesh that in with team development. So what I mean by that is by cutting, by passing, by spacing. We'll teach shot selection, what we think is a gold medal shot, what we think is a bronze medal shot. Gold medal is getting to the restricted arch, which we call jail, right? And if we can shoot in there, that's a gold medal shot. If we, a wide open, kind of contested, I should say, shot is a bronze medal, which is something that it's okay, but it's not something we're seeking. Just stuff like that is, I think at that level of grade, kind of the 8-year-olds all the way up to the 14-year-olds, if we can start identifying those things and applying those things into the game, I think it's going to lead to better basketball players down the line as well. In July, we have our competition camp. At this camp, it'll be more like small-sided games where we'll play different leagues. We'll have a 3-on-3 league. We'll have a 5-on-5 league where they keep their teams for 2 weeks and compete against each other. Hopefully they come to both camps so they can apply a lot of the things that they worked in the development camp and put them into action in the competition camp in July. Ultimately, I think we have a great camp staff. It's just fun to get in the gym and work with like-minded guys and develop kids at such a young age. I'll be honest, it takes a lot out of me. I'm exhausted by the end of the day, but in today's game at the high school level, you got to have summer camp. You got to work with your kids if you want a successful basketball program.
So to register for each or both of these camps, what's the best, easiest way?
The best way to do it is to go to www.dulutheastbasketball.com/summer program.
Perfect. Now I got to ask you a tongue-in-cheek question, but I know you'll give me an honest answer. Which of these 3 seasons, pardon the pun, fires you up more? NBA postseason, summer basketball season, or grilling season, which is about to start with the weather getting nicer?
I'm actually ready to fire up the Traeger today. We have our daughter's birthday. We're making some tacos, but we're going to make some chicken on the Traeger. We have a bunch of people coming over. It's going to be a beautiful afternoon. We're looking forward to it, and that's an outstanding question.
I have to tell you, your answer shocks me none. It's almost like we know each other a little bit. Obviously, the Wolves sweep is out the window as a possibility. Your prediction now is what?
I say Wolves win tomorrow night. I think you're going to see a different group. As much as we love the Wolves, they've never really been as a group in this position before, and they're going against the world champs who have. I think last night opened their eyes a little bit. I think you're going to see a toughness, a tenacity, and they're going to come out swinging right away. I do expect it to go to the wire, but I expect the Wolves win at the end.
Rhett, this was awesome. It always is. You know your bump out music. It's Peter Gabriel, In Your Eyes. Thanks for telling us what the Wolves game looked like in your eyes last night. We appreciate it. Make sure Kaylin gets one heck of a Mother's Day tomorrow because she gave you a heck of a night last night.
Yeah, for sure, guys. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
and I'll be glad to come back whenever.
Absolutely, and happy birthday to Kinley, of course, as well. Enjoy the day.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, that's Rhett McDonald, boys basketball coach at Duluth East, but also Wolves fan last night. We wanted that fan's perspective.
Oh, 100%. And from a coach that has a feel, right? And that's the part for me that's fun, is when you see somebody who not just enjoys the game, but has a feel for it to kind of tell us.
Speaking of that, how about rookie camp and a feel for it from Vencie Glenn? We'll close the show with that when we come back. Northland Sports Page, Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook. Stick around.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back to the Northland Sports Page. Final segment already. Time sure does fly when you're having fun. One more shout out to all the moms out there. I know the official day is not until tomorrow, but go ahead and have yourself a heck of a Mother's Day weekend. My mom already texted me. We were talking about it earlier. You said she listens to this. She confirmed for you.
Oh, yeah. I don't have any doubt that, there's things in life that you don't doubt. That is number one.
Right, a guarantee. My mom catching the show, put that on the list. But I can tell you one of the main reasons why, because she's told me this many times, and I've told our next guest, I just love listening to Vencie. So let's give her that opportunity.
It's crazy how many people say that, because there's no goofy stuff. I mean, we have fun, but it's football.
So without any further interruption, let's go to Vencie Glenn. Good morning, 2-5. How's your Saturday treating you?
I'm good, pal. Just sitting up here watching a little golf.
Nothing wrong with that, and just the sound of your voice probably making my mom's day, so I appreciate that. It's the early Mother's Day gift getting you on the air again.
Hey, Moms. Happy Mother's Day.
There you go. Perfectly said. So the other thing with this weekend, besides Mother's Day, of course, up here is opening fishing. We didn't touch on that, but happy opening fishing to those who celebrate. But in Vikings country, it's rookie minicamp. What goes through the minds of rookies in this particular weekend? Because it's really the first time to show their stuff, but they're not doing it with a ton of veterans present.
I just think it's just the first process of learning how to be focused, because it's different. The meetings are different. The schedules are different. The things you're learning about the league, about organizations, about how professional things are ran. Everything's different. Everything's a learning process. It's just like going from high school to USC or Oklahoma, somewhere like that. Just it's overwhelming. So it's all a process, and you just try to take it all in. But at the same time, you're there to play football, and that's when you're most comfortable when you're out on the field.
That makes perfect sense. So I want to ask you a question that kind of goes into a category that you and I talk about a lot. You've always expressed your love for this show because it's football, it's not fanball. But then you look yesterday and a story pops up that, J.J. McCarthy, super impressive, turning heads at rookie minicamp. Is that
the first day?
Yeah, is that just fanball trying to generate hype? Because what could they really be doing to turn heads? Because isn't it mostly about learning just playbook familiarity, that kind of thing? Or are there things that could really wow someone already?
He's a social media star, man. He turns all kind of heads,
Amen.
Man. Come on, bro. We talking about football, man. I get it. They're talking about he doing this, he can throw this. When you've never seen a guy a lot, you sit there and wow over everything he does because you've never seen him before. And then when you see him throw picks in games and all that, you tell him, oh, he's terrible, man. Now he's bad. But he was the next greatest thing earlier. So it's just a process, man. I'm sure he knows how to block that stuff out and just focus on football.
All right, let's go back to football. Speaking of, so I was watching some highlights yesterday of the Michigan offense because I've been fascinated with it. And the one thing that I noticed is that almost all of McCarthy's completions, the big ones, are crossing routes, whether it's a drag or a post or whatnot. And I'm wondering, as a rookie DB, what do you think is the toughest route to cover in the NFL?
That depends on your position and what your skill assets are. Some corners are better covering the dig. Some safeties are better playing over the top. Some safeties are better coming downhill. It just all depends on your schematics. Here's the thing about pros, guys. You have to get better in all aspects of the game. You can't talk about your strengths. Man, if you're talking about your strengths, you're going to be terrible. You ain't going to be in the league long. You have to find your weaknesses and fast and get them better because the other team will day one. So, I don't look at all the kind of different things because it's a team sport and you get so caught up in what one guy can do. But when do you ever see the TV focus in on one DB? After a play, maybe, if he's guarding the guy. Yep. But you don't sit there and watch the DB just boom the whole play. Nobody does that. So it's really not like that. Just doing your job every play is hard enough.
So I want to ask you this. Let's talk about, rookies that are at rookie minicamp, and maybe they do, quote unquote, put on a show, even if social media is the only thing that says that. Is it possible, because I think back to the wonderful stories you told us about Bo Jackson and Earl Campbell, is it possible that somebody gets a false comfort zone and then the minute the veterans get there, they get torched, and that's a wake-up call? Just because you're dominating rookies doesn't mean you're going to dominate anything.
Absolutely, and that's why I know all the rookies are not sitting there like that. They're not like, I'm coming in, I'm the man. You might have confidence in your ability, but you're going to get humbled real quick. Everybody does. It's just, and most of people come in humble. I'm not a first round, but I was a second round, but I was humble because I'm sitting there looking at the greatest that ever played the game still on the field.
So then,
and so it's different.
So then let's take that to the next step. In a rookie camp, probably the answer is not. But in their first camp, how about that? What's the sort of thing that a rookie can do that's a confidence builder? Like you said, they know their strengths. They need to start learning their weaknesses. But is it just doing the thing that you are good at and just doing it at an NFL level? Or is it actually, like you said, knowing that you're weak at this and already making strides towards fixing it? What's the confidence builder in preseason for a rookie?
Well, my confidence builder was this. the veteran said, hey, Will, keep your eyes open, your mouth shut, and your bags packed, and you'll play in this league a long time. So that's what they told me. So you don't get no confidence builder. You might make a good play, but you got to remember, man, you're going to be on special. Some of them going to be on special teams doing other things. Everybody's not the first pick in the draft. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to be playing special teams, learning other things that you just probably wasn't doing a lot of in college. So it's every man on deck in the pros. And so you have to learn a lot of different things. Your weightlifting schedule going to be different. You're going to have to find the right ways to learn how to eat right and your scheduling and all. You just change. Everything changes. So you're in learn mode the whole time. So you don't really have time to be talking about I'm good at this. They looking at me and doing all that. I'm sure all the rookies are coming in and just focus on doing their job and helping their teammates.
We are talking with former NFL safety and Vikings legend Vencie Glenn. Vencie, this week the schedule is released, and it's a big deal for fans. It's a fun deal for media. Do players look at anything besides when's our bye week and when do we travel here, here, and here? Or maybe this year, you'll laugh at this, I hope, because of your great relationship with number 8. Maybe the Vikings are looking to see if they play Kirk in prime time so they can put it in as a win?
No, you just look at the road games. Man, where we going, what division we going in this year on the road. And you don't want, and hopefully it's teams that are warm weather or indoors. That's what you look at. And you take it like that. You play who you play. No, you're not looking for no number 8 or anything like that. And, man, the guys aren't like that. They just go on and play and do your job. So,
all I know is it might be more fun.
You do look at the schedule and just see what conferences you're going to play. And so now you can get your mindset and say, okay, they got dogs over here. But the whole our division this year, man, it's going to be man, Detroit got better. Chicago got better. Green Bay is getting better and going to continue. And Minnesota got better, I think, by getting rid of number 8 and getting a bunch of good players in. So that division, man, you're going to have to play well every week to win.
That's what I was about to say. I know it'll be more fun texting with Vencie about number 8 when the Vikings are playing Atlanta this year. Dave, go ahead. You get the last question of the day.
All right. And the last question is going to be high school related, Vencie, because you know what I do on the side. And I was talking to, on the side, that's the regular job. This is the side. I was in a school and I had some freshmen who were talking about playing next year, playing ball next year. So we talked about high school to college. We talked about college to pro. Let's talk about like youth football into high school. What are the sort of things, if Vencie's sitting with a group of whether it be ninth graders or 10th graders who are getting ready to play maybe some varsity, what are some of those suggestions you're providing them?
Honor the process. Honor the process. Everybody goes through a process. And the biggest process is getting your education. You get from 8th grade to 9th grade, get from 9th grade to 10th grade, and hopefully your skill sets and your grades are getting better every year as you are on whatever field you may be participating in. But I just tell guys to just enjoy the moment, man. Everybody's not – I just over and over, I just tell people everybody's not going to make it. So I just throw up a stat that I show everybody that, like, man, you might make money, which is great, and that's why you go to school to get education so you can go out in the job world and make money. You can make money, but everybody is not going to be on that field or the different field or whatever your profession may be. So if you can handle that, then you got a good chance to succeed. But everybody's worth and what they want out of life is different. So it's just what you want out of it.
Vencie, we always get what we want out of you and much, much more. This was awesome. It always is. Let's do it again in a week.
You got it, guys. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Vencie.
All right, we appreciate you as well. That's our guy, Vencie Glenn. Thank you, Vencie Glenn. Thank you, Rhett McDonald. Thank you, Dave Hoops. Fun day, Dave Cook. Thank you.
We had really good guests. How about the energy that our guest brought today?
No question about it. We can only hope that we matched it. Everybody, let's hope the Timberwolves match the Denver Nuggets.
Right.
Energy tomorrow night. What's your prediction? Wolves in what? I don't think you're going Nuggets in anything, are you?
No, I am not. I'm going Wolves in 6 because I think they'll win in home court.
I'm going to stick with Wolves in 6 as well because I do think the Wolves win tomorrow. And sure, 3-1, you might think, hey, this is just about over. I just can't see Denver bowing out at home.
Nope.
So they'll come back here and hopefully the Wolves get it done in 6. If it goes 7, I don't want to think about that right now. I'm going to think about enjoying the weekend. You guys do it too. Happy Mother's Day. We'll see you.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.